Hello, my friends. I'm Rick, and this is your Seat at the Table. And let me open up something here. Let me open this up here. Okay, hey, first things first. Yeah, this stuff here, this is actually some of my college books. This is some of the books that I studied in college to learn how to do drafting with computers. 3D rendering, all that wonderful stuff. That was 20 odd years ago. 2000 to 2002 is when I went. Man, you can see the earmarks and the man. This was one of my main books that I had to really dig into and get lots and lots of stuff. You can see where I highlighted all kinds of things. I got a whole shelf of these damn things out there, and here the irony is, 22 years later, some really bad decisions in my life and a lot of bad luck, and life. And so I got a college education to do rendering and generating 3D projects on computers, and then I spent 6 months trying to find a damn job, and nobody would hire. Nobody would hire. I was either old and didn't have a working experience in some sort of manufacturing field, or because I was in management for most of my younger years. And then the other side of the coin was, well, if you were 20 years old, if you were a young person, because I was 30, 36 at the time, somewhere in there, we would hire you, then we could teach you or mold you, and et cetera, et cetera. And you get shot down a few dozen times, you get to become very despondent. And I spiraled out of control into a very dark depression. We was in a very bad spot, and it just got worse. And then I made things even worse. And no matter how bad, I guess the caveat there is, no matter how bad life gets, no matter how bad you think things are, take a moment and try to envision just how bad they really could get. And hopefully learn to not keep digging that hole. And another thing is to be aware that people will help you. There are people and organizations that will help. And the key is accepting that accepting you need help and realizing you have a problem. That's one thing about a lot of depressions. Depression, they just lump it into one group, but the truth is depression is a very complicated and many faceted thing. That means there's lots of different kinds of depression. And some of them are very insidious. They get in you, and you don't realize that you've got a problem on the mental side of things. You are in denial because that's just how you're wired, or how you were taught, and how you were raised, etc. So at the end of the day, just be aware that no matter how bad your life is, it can be worse. And right now, my life is, there's still a lot of bad parts to it, but it's best it's been in my lifetime. I mean, there's some really, we're coming up on the holidays. It's very hard because most of my family are gone. They've either moved far, far away, or they've passed away. My wife's family's the same way. And I don't have any contact with any of my boys. My two sons are grown up, and I don't know where they are, who they are, or what they do. And that's on me. I made that mistake, and I can't fault them for that. And now I'm not in a position to try to fix it. Is what it is. And then my daughter, she's married and moved away, and they moved a long way away, and we're not on good terms, and that's my fault too. Once again, I can't fix it. I can't fix something. Sometimes that's another thing when it comes to mental illness and other issues. Sometimes you have to be aware: are you doing something to make yourself feel better? And in the process, are you actually inflicting harm on the person that you're trying to apologize to? It's a hard road. This is why I don't discount the power of a psychiatrist if you get the right one. But like everything else, some are better than others, and some understand certain things more than they do other things. Anyway, life goes on. Recently, the YouTube subscriber count is getting close enough to that 1,000 mark where I'm getting enough hours and visits per month to get close to being able to monetize the channel. And I understand that monetizing the channel at YouTube, unless I'm lucky and I can get 10,000 subscribers or something, isn't likely to going to do much other than just another milestone or a goal that's been exceeded, which I'm utterly grateful for. But in the process of doing that, I hit a window that opened some options that previously were were locked up, which means monetizing things. And so I triggered through most of them. There's still a final step I haven't figured quite yet how to do. I'm leery because you have to show you have to give them basically a copy of your driver's license. I did this with an IRS website, so I know kind of what to expect, how to do it. This is it's a verification process. So for whatever monetary means you do generate through YouTube can be transferred to your account. I haven't yet quite figured that one out yet. Of course, in part that's because I haven't sat down to try to figure out. I will do that here in the next week or two because I want to do that for sure. And the reason for that is because one of y'all donated to the channel. You were very generous, very, very generous, and I was utterly surprised and grateful for it. And your caveat was, I mean, it wasn't a massive amount of money, but that's not the point. The fact that y'all did it, and it's not the first. Several of you guys have done. Dr. Death is one, and the fellow with the PDFs who I don't want to name, and I'm not naming this person either because I don't know that I can. So anyhow, I went out and he said, buy something for the channel if you want. So I went to, that's where we went. We went to Walmart, and then we went around the corner to Mayhem, and I had that gift card, if you will, with $22 on it. And so I went into the store, and Mayhem Comics, you walk in, and there's 3 rows of Games Workshop. Just dominates this whole corner of the store, like it does in all the other stores that I'm familiar with in my immediate region. Games Workshop definitely has some footprint. They make a damn big effort to have a big footprint, is what I'm looking at. Or they sell such a volume of stuff, and considering the prices of those things, I'm just, oh my God, oh yeah, I don't know how. Hey. There you go. If that's your thing and you can swing it, little increments at a time kind of thing. The problem with that is Games Workshop wants to change and ratchet things up every so many years. So a poor person like me that might take 20 years to collect a decent sized collection of material suddenly finds that the rules for them are no longer applicable several times during that 20 years, that meaning you need to buy a whole new set of stuff. Ain't happening, Games Workshop. I'm a poor F, and that ain't gonna happen. So anyway, I go in there, and I'm going around in circles, and my wife's like, what are you doing? What the hell are you doing? I'm trying to find the Battletech stuff. They were over here on this shelf, and they only have like, a couple foot square space on a shelf. And I finally, then I found it. It was at the back end of the Games Workshop, like they were, I don't know, they were ashamed of it or something. They actually had more of a selection this time than the spring when I went in. They have like 6 or 7 different Star League or Comstar force packs. There was the Northwind Highlanders pack, which when Dr. Death, I think it was gracious to no, this is the Wolf's Dragons. The person that sent me that, I forget. No, it was somebody else that sent me the Highlanders. I'm still trying to paint these things. I'm very slow with stuff with my job. I'm so tired half the time. I just can't find the energy to do anything. And my intentions are to do this and this and this, and then I just kind of, and it's just been a thing. Right. So anyway, we finally found a shelf, and so there's about 7 or 8 force packs, which is what I thought I was gonna, get. Because generally, the comic book store don't generally carry a whole lot of source book material that's in my mind that's worth having. I mean, I would like them. If I had the spare cash, just buy them for the sake of buying them. I think there's an operations manual that was sitting there, and then there was a rule book of some sort sitting there. I think I didn't bother to look at them because my eye fell on this thing here, and I've got the novel, and I read the novel, and I was impressed by the novel, but I haven't had the money to buy the source book. And then the source book was sitting there, and it's $34.99, so $35 is what this thing costs. I don't know what source book these things run for in your neighborhood, but I think this is appropriate. I believe this would be pretty close to what Catalyst would sell it, although they obviously sell at to the bookstores at a bookstore price, so the bookstore can make a profit too, because that's kind of how it goes. And I'm really looking forward to getting into it. As you can see, the plastics still got the cellophane on it. I will, when I've had time to go through it, read it, and try to absorb some of it, we will definitely do a video on it. But the main thing is I'm utterly grateful for that donation. I really am. It just it surprises me when I see it, and I do use that stuff for these things. I mean, I've had a couple donations on buy me a cup of coffee over the last year, about $60 worth over the last year, and I'm grateful for those too. And I used that was what I used to buy the Dominions Divided source book, what came out of that money, and so did something else. I forget what it was I bought off the top of my head, but it just allows me to get things that it would take me a much longer period. Eventually, I would like to have got it, but then we get into that coulda, shoulda, woulda thing. New products come out. I've been watching some videos from various people channels I subscribe. I highlighted one the other day. I mean, it's really really good stuff. If you're a BattleTech fan, you should give the guy some love. Hit some subscribe his channel and stuff. Anyhow, they're talking about for the next quarter. So they had PAX there was this big reveal, and with hours long. So these guys chewed through hours long videos to give us the short version, and I'm grateful for that, because I would have had time to go through all of it, and I'd have missed a lot of information that I now know. So we know that there's probably 4 to 6 field mech packs that are planned that are coming out every quarter for the 2024. So we're looking at potentially 20 to 24 various types of mech unit box sets coming out. And then there's of course the Kickstarter material that I was able to pony up for. Man, that really put a hit on my credit card when I did it. My credit card still struggles. I mean, I'm just being truthful. It's been a hard year. Everything's cost so goddamn much. It just keeps going through the rough, and we've hit that limit, and now we're just like everybody else. We started going to the food pantry a couple months ago. Every 2 weeks, the wife goes to the food pantry, or with the neighbor lady, or I take her if neighbor lady isn't feeling up to it. Luckily for us, I had to take her a couple weeks back, and we was talking to the lady there and discovered we qualify for heating assistance for the winter. So we get a $600 credit to our utility bill, which is like $126 a month. So that's going to save us a little bit over the winter. It's a little extra money in our pocket for, unfortunately, paying other shit. We still owe probably $80-90 on our taxes from last year. I'm still trying to pay. Sounds like, well, it just paid off. Well, where do I get the $80? Well, 2 weeks ago I had a 32-hour check because my truck went into the shop for that transmission repair, and by the time we paid everything we absolutely had to pay, and took care of our responsibilities for the pets and for our prescriptions and things like this, we ended up with about $50 for groceries. And $50 today doesn't do shit, And then unfortunately, the last Friday, the previous Friday, there was a screw up on my part. I dated my work sheet or my time sheet wrong, because I get confused by the stupid Thanksgiving holiday. I always think of the 24th for some anal reason, so I put down the wrong damn day, and the off K, she did what I said, and that would put 12 hours of my check onto the check I just got yesterday or Friday, which really shorted the check last week and really put us in a bad bind. So I only had 33 5 hours on that one when I was expecting 47. And then I had to catch that, and I had to make sure she understood that she's going to apply that to my check I just got, that 8 hours of that's not overtime. I mean, I don't want my boss to get, wrongfully charged hour-wise. I could have done that and added another $100 to my check, but I'm just not that kind of person. I can't do that, and I don't want to worry about it. So that meant my check on Friday was damn near $1,100, which made up for the last couple weeks in a way. But our freezer was empty, and our refrigerator was looking pretty bad. The food pantry, they don't give you very much. The food pantries are struggling too. The food pantries, I don't know about food pantries in your area, but the food pantries here in Iowa are hit hard. They're feeding 300,000 families. They're feeding twice as many families as there were a year ago. That's how things have gotten, how bad things have gotten. And so when you go in there, there's less to go around. You used to come out of there with a couple big boxes of stuff, and now you come out of there with a little bit less smaller box of stuff. And I'm grateful for what we get. And I tell the wife, I says, whatever if it's available, get it. If we don't use it, we'll share it. We got a neighbor down the street that's got a pack of kids. We'll share it with them, and because that's the right thing to do. We're trying to help others while we ourselves are struggling. That is the right thing to do. Unfortunately, so many wrong things seem to be the flavor of the day here in America, and it's terrible, shameful. Anyhow, so it's the fact that I was able to get this was a beautiful treat. And my wife says, "Well, that's like a Christmas present for yourself." And in a way, it is. So is that damn iPad, that notepad thing. We got that through a vendor of sorts, so I'll be making payments on it for the rest of the next year. But I make payments on everything else, right? It is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, work my ass off. I get as much hours as I can. When I get a short check, we hurt. We don't have the surplus we used to have. A couple of years ago, I had $1,000 put back. For a couple of years there, we were able to keep a stash of about $1,000 for emergencies. This last year, and my band's making noise. It's got 4 more payments, and then I'm gonna wait to keep driving it until I can't, and then I'll look at buying another one because I'm trying to bring down what we're spending. We still got 3 more years to spend, or 2 more years worth of payments on the furnace at $180 a month that we didn't have last year, the year before. So my intentions is take that car payment and add it to the furnace payment and pay it. I'm already used to paying it, so you're just going to pay even more towards the personal loan that we got for the furnace so we can get that paid off. The sooner it gets paid off, the better off we are, because you just never know what the next freaking emergency is going to be, and I need to be able to tap that personal loan capability if need be. And then at some point we have to replace the van. The van is old and it's held up real well. We've been very, 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 very lucky that it has not had any major problems. I've had some maintenance done, some other work on it, but nothing that exceeded $400 or $500. But if they had to have a $500 repair today, I'd be screwed. I'd literally have to go hat in hand to my boss and get an advance, and then that puts the added strain on my checks because you got to pay it back. It is what it is. So anyhow, I am utterly grateful for the donation that was sent, and it did go to use this. As soon as I figure out how to get the money over to my bank account, then but the truth is that's the money I would have used for something like this, and I did. So, and I'm grateful for it. And hey, thank you. Honestly, thank you guys very much. This experience has been helpful and healthy for me in many ways. This channel, doing these videos, interacting with you guys the way I do. I talk to a number of you on Red's channels when he's doing his podcast. Red's been very nice to me and still is. He's a decent man. His channel's grown to the point where his podcasts you just sit there and listen to most of them because you really can't compete with the volume of people on there. But hey, that's the whole point, right? That's the whole point of it. And, you know, right? I know we've got a numerous set of new source books and stuff they're planning. Was it House Davion, House Carita for sure, and I think a Mercenaries handbook, source book of sorts, so an updated version. So you know, I'm going to have to get those things somehow when they come out. There's so many other odds and ends that come. It's hard to keep up with everything. You know, there was a time when I do that. The reason I have the sheer amount of stuff that I do is because, you know, let's be honest, I spent a good chunk of my 20s living in my parents' basement at my parents' house, not paying anything. You know, I didn't pay rent. I didn't give my dad money. I gave him a little bit money to justify having an air conditioner, and that was after 3 days of arguing. Other than that, you know, they paid for all the utilities. They paid for my. I had a roof. I had a roof over my head and all the utilities, and I didn't think twice about it. And that was pretty arrogant and selfish on my part. And it took me years to understand that. I mean, I was an angry young man for a number of reasons. If you want to talk about abuse of all sorts, I've been through it. And I'm not proud of a lot of it, but I'm also not ashamed to talk about it. It took me a long time to get to that part of my life where I could do that. I was in denial for a big chunk of my life because, you know, when the abuse starts young enough, it just becomes a thing. You think that's normal, and when you find out it's not normal, you don't know how to cope with it, or you don't cope at all, which adds to your mental problems. You know, and we don't like to admit sometimes that we do have issues, and that's human, part of human nature. Anyway, enough of me rambling and babbling. Utterly grateful. I am really grateful and looking forward to getting into this and going through it. Till next time, y'all have a great weekend and keep gaming. It just irritates me to no end.